Thank you for joining me for what I'm more or less calling my story/spoiler run through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is your warning that from this point forward, this video and all of the videos in this series are full of spoilers and speculation for the complete story in Rebirth, so everything we're given in-game. It will be looking at ideas and elements from Remake, as well as the original Final Fantasy VII, start to finish, so including beyond where we are in the story, the whole story start to finish of OG7. It will be incorporating ideas and plot elements from the books, On the Way to a Smile, The Kids Are All Right, Tale of Two Pasts. It will probably come up once or twice discussing Advent Children, the movie, and I will give you fair warning, it is such a convoluted story. And going back through it, for how many times I've watched other people play, I've watched my play, I've recorded these videos, as many times as I've gone through it, there's always new ideas and thoughts that I have while doing stuff, so you'll see little interruptions occasionally throughout the video, like this! And those are just, during the editing process, something I forgot to mention. I came in and thought of it, and so added it in After Effects. So if those are annoying, sorry, but it is what it is. So I want these to generate discussion. I want to hear your thoughts, so please join me in the comments. Tell me things that maybe I missed. If you see something you missed, let me know. If you think I'm wrong about something, please. If you think I'm going off into crazy town. If you think I'm on the right track, great, let's talk about it. Maybe discussion will raise some more ideas. Anyway, without further ado, thank you for joining me. I love this game. Hopefully you do too, so let's get into it.
Built like a maze, remnants of battle. It's not a temple, it's a fortress. To defend against what, though? Fiends? Worse, humans.
Filthy humans.
Humans feared and coveted the power of the ancients. And so they slaughtered them.
He says that, you know, like it's something bad, but Sephiroth, you're not part ancient, dude. You're part Genova. Like the opposite of an ancient at this point. Getting all upset over the humans. Genova used the humans, presumably, to help fight the Cetra. Sephiroth's all kind of messed up, man. Yeah, so I mean, we walk in, hey, look at this nice arrow on the ground. Didn't click for me.
Sung.
Same body position from OG7.
You okay?
It's not me you should be worried about.
Just tell me. This place. Is it the Promised Land?
I'm sorry.
It's a temple, dude.
But I don't think it is.
Of course. Figures.
See, I mean, their relationship is weird, but they had a relationship. And
Always did take my word for it. I never hated you, you know.
only one person that she acknowledges as having hated.
This pedestal's a key. One only an ancient can use.
Where are you going?
Well, it's a good thing that, you know, Sephiroth isn't an ancient and therefore can't use it to get the black materia. And yet we're still worried about it.
Aerith, I need you.
So at the beginning of this, right before the temple, I had that insert where I was talking about the Promised Land and having dived into it. And this is another case where it's like there doesn't seem to be a clear understanding by anybody in this game. Not even Aerith, as to what the Promised Land is. Shinra keeps saying that they take it as a very literal place, and therefore they interpret it as someplace lush with Mako that they can then exploit. And so I'm not entirely sure why they thought this place would be, except, I mean, just there does seem to be so much live stream going on here, maybe. But, I mean, the fact that Hojo already told Rufus, this isn't the promised land. This is, the stage. And so it's weird, like, how the mixed messages that Shinra itself is sending out as to what they're doing here. And I don't know, but here, of course, we've seen the way it's progressively since we've been in this temple, we've seen Cloud getting more and more Clouderoth like, and it culminates at the end of this, or not really culminates, but it hits a peak at the end of this with his absolutely jerk response to Aerith's speech. So we'll get there when we get there. The thing I think to remember about this section coming up with the trials is that they are trials. And what is a trial in this sense but something to overcome and pass through and grow beyond and learn from, etc. And keep that in mind, and we'll talk about it when we get through the trials. I love the Tesseract-like thing here, which, come to think of it, the Tesseract is not, and I'm not talking about the one from the MCU. More like the one from Wrinkle in Time. A Tesseract is, if you have, as my understanding of it is, you have one dimension, you have a point. You have two dimensions, you have a line, which is a point expressed along a new dimension infinitely. You take a line expressed along a new dimension, a second dimension really infinitely, and you have, essentially a square. You have a plane. You take that and express it along a third dimension infinitely, and you have your third axis, and that gives you three-dimensional space that we live in. And so you have go from a point to a line to a square to a box. Now, if you take the box and express it in a fourth dimension, that is its movement throughout time, and that's where you see the box within the box, the actual three-dimensional box within the box tilted and sometimes bigger, smaller, moving in different things. And when you connect the lines, it looks a lot like what that thing inside that pillar looked like. And so it is a three-dimensional object expressed in the fourth dimension, which is its movement throughout time as it moves through the three-dimensional space that it's in. That square rotation is a two-dimensional representation of that Tesseract. And I never really caught on that that's what that design looks like, is just the two-dimensional representation of that 3D shape that we just saw. And that 3D shape is a three-dimensional representation of a fourth-dimensional object. And we know the live stream encompasses all these different worlds and doesn't really seem to respect time all that much. Interesting tie-in there that I just put together. See, look at it. It's the box inside of the box inside of the box at different angles is how you would see the Tesseract.
O warrior, weary though thou art, inward must thou now turn. Reflect on thy long and bloody path, and kindle life's fire anew. Forget not thine ire, for it shall remake thee.
So now those lines, very, very important for this whole section.
Rolling out the red carpet for us.
Sorta. We're each supposed to face some kind of trial.
I guess you get to sit this one out.
Typical.
I'll wait out here. but make it quick.
Well, no point delaying the inevitable.
Right.
See you on the other side.
Alright, starting off here with the Shrine of Trials. Not sure if those faces are supposed to be anything in particular beyond just a Cetran face. I think they're the same in all the rooms, so it's not like it's some sort of projection from Aerith herself. Yeah, same face all the way along.
Subject located.
It can't be real.
I'm trying to get a look at Red's eye to confirm that he still is missing the eye here. I am looking for some form of confirmation about whether or not Red had his eye before this moment that we see here. And if he lost his eye thanks to Hojo. I don't think there's anything else we can see down there. Looking around, it's not like we're gonna die here. See the troopers. I mean, yeah, we're down. This is down in a Cosmo Canyon area specifically, which obviously, I mean, we knew from the walls and such, but it doesn't look like any place we've seen specifically beyond looking like down the Cave of the Gi, obviously. But I'm just kind of curious about where, since I didn't play the game where this is taken from, this moment. I don't know what else to say about it, really. I was wondering if there would be something in the background if you stopped to look around that might be interesting, but it doesn't look like there is. And yeah, he's definitely missing the eye here, but since this is but he doesn't have the 13 tattoo, which obviously where he's about to get it. So I don't know what that says about the eye, whether it means anything at all.
Hold still.
What? Easy now. That is a valuable specimen. It must be handled with the utmost care.
Now, one of the things that we don't know is what experiment or experiments did Hojo do with Red while he was in captivity. As far as I know, the only thing that has specifically been confirmed somewhere, and I don't know where, but I remember reading it, is that he did not get a Genova injection. Because that's obviously had been a question since OG7, when the whole thing of tattooed people, and Red has a tattooed 13 on him, etc. So people are like, oh, did he get Genova cells? Is he like the Black Robe guys did? And I believe that was confirmed that he did not. I mean, that's one among infinite other things that Hojo could have wanted to do to him. So, you know, the Shinra originally captured him because he is an endangered species, essentially. And so, ostensibly, they did it maybe as a protective measure. Or at least that's what they told some of their people to make them feel better about it. But in the end, we really have no idea, except we know for a fact Hojo made Red's life a frickin' hell for the time he was here, which was, again, only a little over a year, I think. So, but there's still, you could do a lot to someone in a year.
Such a fine red coat. A rare specimen for my lucky 13th test. That's it.
Test of what, you psychotic?
You shall be
Like, if you weren't already in loathing with Hojo, this scene would drive the nail in. I don't know why you wouldn't be already, but if you weren't, kind of wonder is Red trying to hide his ability to speak and his level of intelligence and sentience, and that's why he's not saying anything here, just sort of growling and stuff. That's my guess, is he's deliberately holding back so that Hojo doesn't know just how smart and intelligent he is. Tifa's is a little strange. They're all a little different in their own ways. Tifa's is strange because she sees herself right there in that, you know, brief moment, of course, and that's it. And then up at the top of the water tower. But by the time she gets up there, the other her is gone, and we get to here. And so she's the only... He and Aerith are the only other ones that see themselves.
Cloud?
Aerith is the only one where you control someone other than your character in the memory.
No!
And I don't know if it really means anything. I just think it's interesting that, you know, Aerith's is the only one that you experience it as little Aerith. Like right now, we could be little Tifa, or, you know, teenage Tifa at least, and it would make perfect sense. But no, we're controlling adult Tifa. We got Red Sans tattoo because the tattoo was a moment in that memory, but in this moment in the memory, Tifa should be a teenager, but she's not. This obviously is not a factual retelling, an instance of the events, but it also, I've always kind of wondered, because previously I think Tifa said that she and her dad came to the reactor to hide, but this seems to indicate that she found her dad dead, so maybe they were separated at some point. It's not really clear why this scenario plays out the way that it does here. See, I mean, this, if we were playing as Teen Tifa, then this would make perfect sense.
Monsters. Sephiroth. Soldiers. Mako. Shinra. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of all of this!
Different voice inflection there than the memories that we've seen of that moment so far, which makes you wonder, was she just repeating it for the sake of repeating it? Was she just remembering that's what she said and it sort of got more real as she went along? Again, since we weren't playing as teenage Tifa, we clearly weren't accurately reliving the moment. These trials are interesting. And again, I mean, obviously none of them are reflections of reality, because this is not exactly what happened to Yuffie. I mean, this moment obviously didn't happen at all, but...
Claws away, boss. At least while we're in Shinra territory.
I love the design of this, and as you go up, and it's just this infinite tower.
Hey, boss. Want to try treading a little lighter this time? No point fighting if we don't have to. So make sure you're ready for anything, okay?
It feels infinite, but
You gotta keep going. For us.
a beautiful version of this song.
You got this.
Now, this moment here with Nero, honestly, make the fact that they bring this up and the way he says it, you know Yuffie's this is going to stick in her brain. And it leads me to think of what something we're going to get in part 3.
Sona?
Oh, the puppet aspect there is heart-wrenching a little bit. Right.
If you won't come and claim him, I can always keep him for myself.
I think this is my prediction, and it's what I want. It's also what I think they may give us. Is Yuffie is going to go, when we go back to Midgar in part 3, to go take on the Sister Ray. I think Yuffie and Vincent and possibly Kate Sith are going to go down into the deep ground, and they're going to take on Nero. Or, what is it, Nero? Whatever. These guys, they're going to take on the deep ground. They're going to cut. They are. I think Yuffie, Vincent, and Kate are going to go to the deep ground and take down, or take on at least, Weiss and Nero. Possibly run into Genesis and answer questions about what is Sonon's status. Because we assume dead. This indicates, I mean, it could just be playing on Yuffie's fears, but it indicates he may be, like, caught in a suspended state where he's not all the way dead yet, and they're just screwing with him, torturing him. Either is possible. He could just be flat out dead. But I think this moment is still going to bother Yuffie, and getting into Midgar and having the chance, I think she's going to take it. And Vincent coming down here, because Vincent takes on the deep ground in Dirge of Cerberus, and Kate Sith as, being under the control of Reeve, makes perfect sense for a third to go in with them. I don't know that anybody else really makes sense to go down here and try for this. But those three, the timing I think will be weird, because obviously I think Vincent's going to need to be there for the Hojo fight. And if I remember right, I want to say the Hojo fight is maybe where, I forget if that's the time when Yuffie is supposed to have gone off and done something, because she and Vincent were both optional characters, so they don't have. Oh no, I guess it's not until you go to the crater when you're actually down in taking on Sephiroth. I think supposedly Yuffie and Vincent are supposed to be returned to Midgar and have come to take care of something here, and that's why they're not in the final scene. That's really because they're alternate optional characters, so they weren't programmed in to the cutscenes. And so maybe it'll be then, but I think it's more likely it's going to be when we come back to Midgar. And so I think Vincent's going to need to be there to take on Hojo. And I think Yuffie might need to be up top and Barret up top to take on Scarlet, or at least be in the conversation, if not forcibly members of the fight. If we have to give up Yuffie for some reason to go start arranging for this, then Barret at least will still be there. But I kind of imagine that Vincent might be needed for part of the conversation around the Hojo fight. But regardless, I think this moment is going to play into part 3 a little bit and lead us to them heading to the deep ground. Because she's already torn up about it. Because the memories that are in these trials are arguably the most painful moments of their lives. And that's why these moments are the ones chosen. Okay, I can't think of anything in any particular person's life off the top of my head that would be worse for them than the moments we see here. And these are the moments of the greatest pain and the moments that lead to the greatest hatred and negative emotions for each of them. Which I think will be important by the time we're done. Now, this one, I said it at the time, and it has been true every time I've seen anybody play this. This one hit me the hardest. Because Barret, the bit of Barret that I identify so much with is, him being a dad. In here, though, the part that hits me is, I can't imagine necessarily being in Yuffie's shoes. I can't imagine being in Red's shoes in these moments. But I absolutely adore my wife, and the thought of losing her the way that he loses Myrna and the moments that we see with him, oh my god. The fact that we get to see Myrna here just... this is the one that hits me the hardest.
There you are.
And you notice me here, Barret doesn't have the dog tags on.
What's wrong, baby?
He
You okay?
does not have the glasses, obviously, but that's the smallest thing that he doesn't have. And of course the arm, but that's obviously key to this moment. But this is, of course, the first time, as far as I know, in any FF7 lore that you see or hear or anything Myrna herself. I don't even remember if her name was mentioned before. So, I mean, this was a huge moment for us to get to see this. Jeez.
Myrna?
You can see the flies.
Myrna! Myrna! Myrna!
Or maybe they're specks of ash, but it always strikes me that they're flies, and the fact that he's got the bloody arm there. But these moments that we're getting with all these are the moments that lead them to the most hatred. They're also the moments that can and do lead them to their greatest action. Because everything around this for Barret is what leads him to Avalanche and leads him to Marlene. And starts him with the hatred for Shinra that has fueled him this whole time. And Red, the hatred that he clearly feels for Hojo, that every time they run into each other, Red is ready to go rip his throat out. And someone, usually Aerith, says, not now. And Yuffie's, the fear that's mixed in hers, obviously, and the pain of the loss. She's got some strong feelings about Nero. And I mean, this whole thing, these are their moments of the greatest hatred, but also lead to the thing that spurs them on in life. And it's getting to that point where it is more than just the hatred. That, I think, is the point of these trials. And you think about the words that Aerith read initially, and we'll get back to them when we get to the end of this. I think it's that's why these moments, and I think that's what her speech at the end is getting to, is taking these moments and doing something with them. And I said way back on the beach scene with her when she confesses that she hates Hojo.
Wake up, baby.
And I asked her at that time whether she moved beyond that by the end of this scenes, where at the end of these trials, if she finally maybe had put that behind her where she no longer hated Hojo. And yes, I'm talking through this part because if I don't talk through it and I watch it and just take it in, then my throat's going to start closing up on me and I'm going to lose the ability to speak for a few seconds. So, we finally get to Aerith herself, of course. And again, this is the one of these moments where you're not controlling the actual person that's in this memory. The fact that she and little Aerith are separate from each other, and then you switch and control little Aerith. I don't know that it's indicative of anything specific. I just think it's interesting that Aerith, of all people, is the one to experience this. We're not seeing this as little Aerith right now. We're seeing this as big Aerith. And maybe there's a parallel there between Ultimate Aerith looking down and observing our Aerith and other versions of herself in all the other different worlds. I love the artwork that's in here, because if you look at, there's a lot of things like the phoenix, and obviously the flowers themselves are kind of indicative of, in some cases, the rebirth and reunion. There's a lot of little details that are in here. Obviously, all of it in little kids' artwork form.
A big one. Just
The
somewhere
unicorn,
far away.
I assume, and that's not just a regular horse. It's a little hard to tell there. I think that's a horn coming out of its head. Rainbows, obviously, have been a sign of promise and rebirth in various lores in the world. Butterflies, the rebirth, their transformation from the caterpillar, and then they're reborn as butterflies.
Without the men in white and the needles, would you get better there?
And Afalna has been through it. They have stuck her with things and drawn blood, and they've done all sorts of other tests on her and everything they can think of, and she just got weaker and weaker. And eventually she started getting some medication / drugs to deal with the pain. And I mean, she has been through it by this point, where until she is literally about to die getting through this ordeal. And see there, that looks like a bird. It's not necessarily the phoenix, but it could be, in that sort of whitish yellow, whitish green right in the middle there. There's a chicken on the back wall. Chickens and eggs, obviously a cycle of birth and rebirth. By the way, the egg came first. Dolphin, God only knows. I don't think that has anything to do with anything. It's just friggin' dolphin.
Yes, sweetheart. I think
Looks
I
like
would.
Leviathan
Let's go.
on that wall there. A couple of them are spaced around here. Interesting.
Does it hurt? I'm sorry, sweetie. I'm spoiling our adventure.
See, again, grown Aerith gets the chance to see
Just
little
wait
Aerith
here,
and
alright? I'm gonna find
arguably
a
interact
doctor.
with her. Little Aerith seems aware of her here in a
Hello?
minute. Like,
Go on.
see, there's that moment that it's hard to tell whether she's aware of her or not. It seems like it, but because she's not saying hello, like, is anybody out there? It's, I heard or I sent someone sort of hello. And again, this is not necessarily an accurate portrayal of the events. But because this is this live stream trial and this version and memory that we're getting, when something like that seems off, you have to wonder what it means. Hello.
And stay down, brat.
See, I mean, this seems a little harsh. So you don't know if this is an accurate memory or if this is just a slightly worse, warped portrayal of it from what Aerith might remember. You know, when you think about things are a little bigger, a little worse, a little scarier in your brain when you're thinking back on a bad experience.
I'm fine. Is there a doctor around here?
I'm sorry, honey, but I don't know. I'm not from this part of town.
Oh, okay.
I could help you look, though.
No, thank you. I have to go. I don't want to leave my mom alone too long.
Your mother?
Look, I mean, Amara's gone.
I'm sorry, Mommy. I tried. Mom!
Aerith. Mommy has to return to the planet.
What?
Don't cry, sweetie.
And see, for a while after Ifalna died, Aerith could still speak with her in the live stream.
You can't.
And it got less and less over time. And so, I mean, that was the first instance, really, that I could think of where we know of someone who held on for a while in the live stream, held on to who they were. And I wonder if she had some sort of sense
Take Aerith somewhere safe.
that Elmira was someone who could be trusted and someone who would take care of Aerith. I mean, just the fact that she walked up to her at least would seem to indicate she's a good person, but this is somebody she's trusting her daughter with. And so I gotta wonder if she had some other sense
We need to go.
that this was the person who would be able to take care of Aerith.
Mom!
It's not safe here.
Or if it was just an act of desperation, as literally the only person there.
Mommy!
Now, their escape was facilitated by Faz, who Aerith mentioned back on the Shinra 8 boat. And I walked through the history of his involvement with the Falna.
Hey, she's over here.
I don't think Faz is in this scene. I think Faz is off somewhere waiting for a Falna in Sector 6, hoping she'll show up. Now, reliving these moments obviously reopens the wound a bit. And having to go through all of these. And this is the point where I realized it was the clock room. But what it also does is it gives you the opportunity to, as Aerith read, kindle life's fire anew. This is a reminder of what you've been through that you've already survived, and what gave you the reason to move on. And I don't think it's tied to this in any way, but it reminds me, honestly, so when Dine died, the last thing he said to Barret was, you carry that guilt, that weight. And at the time, and I still hold that this is true, it was, accusatory. It was, it was not lessening Barret's burden in the slightest. It was, this is still on you. You carry that. So it was not an attempt to ease up the burden on Barret. And then I saw the end of Cowboy Bebop again. And the last line on the screen, if I remember correctly, was, you carry that weight. And the fact that I just recently finished playing this game, not too long before I saw that, I was like, whoa, what? Is this a reference to Cowboy Bebop? Well, Cowboy Bebop apparently is a reference to the Beatles. And obviously music, kind of a strong theme in that show. And that term has something that they used, and it was the weight that was on them. They said it, and I believe the interpretation was passing it on to the fans at that point. It's all right, well, you carry the weight now. And again, it's not a lessening of the burden. It is passing it on, re-shouldering it to someone else, but it is not a we're in this together sort of thing at all. But someone also apparently did a deep dive, and I've read briefly about it. And the other way you can read it is, this is the weight that you will carry. And it's not, you don't have a choice. This is the weight you carry, but you will carry it. You will carry on. You will succeed. You will go forward carrying that weight. And read from that perspective, Dine's last sentence, for instance, is not just an accusatory thing. It's, this is part of what made you who you are, Barret. This is what you carry on your shoulders, and you will carry that weight and that guilt. You can't get out of it. You will carry it. Not, it will crush you. Or something, you'll crumple under it, etc. You will carry it, and you will keep going on in your life. And so it is a little bit, I'm not going to say hopeful, but affirming. At the same time, it is acknowledging the weight and that burden that is there. And this is sort of that reminder here for all of them, is this is the thing that came to where you all came from. This is the pain that started all of you really to what brought you to the moment where you are now in life. It started mostly with these moments. Red, captured by Shinra, and the experimentation is what put him in the building and got him in with this group. Aerith, escaping Shinra, losing her mother, put her with Elmira, which then started her whole connection with everybody. Barret, losing his arm, losing his wife, losing his entire life at that point, except literally, started him down the road of Avalanche. Yuffie, she was futzing around, being a ninja thing and doing all sorts of other stuff, wasn't really taking her life seriously, even though she thought she was. I mean, she really, the experiences that she went through in the DLC, losing Sonnen, watching the plate fall, put her on the path and set her in the way to encounter the party and go on. Tifa, losing her dad, spurred her on to join Avalanche, and, you know, literally her injury with Sephiroth, her injury, recovery, center to Midgar, Avalanche, etc. These are not just the pivotal moment of loss, but these are the pivotal moments that put them all on the path to where they are now. They are carrying the burden of these moments as they go forward. And as Aerith is going to say in a minute, it's not about reliving the hate. It's about transforming that hate into something positive and useful in life. And the other thing that really got me as I was thinking about this the other day was in Capaldi's run as the Doctor in Doctor Who. He has a phenomenal speech during an episode where he talks about, you call this a war? I've been in the biggest war in all of history, in all of time, in all of space. I've killed more things. I'm responsible for more death than any other person in history. And when I close my eyes, I can hear all the screams. And it is an acknowledgement of everything that he's done and been through and all the things that turned him into the man he is now. And he says, you know what you do with that? You hold on to it tight and you hold it close and you promise yourself that never again, not on my watch. No one else is going to have to go through what I went through. And that's what makes him the Doctor. And that's, he takes everything that he's been through, everything that he's caused, everything that he has experienced, and he holds it tight, and he uses that as the reason why he does what he does and tries to save everything and everyone every day of his life since. And it's because he let that transform him into a force for good. And that's the message that Aerith is going to be getting to in a minute here, is take these moments, transform them. Don't let them transform you. Transform them into the thing that makes you get up in the morning, that makes you go out and make the world a better place. Barret found Marlene as the reason to get up in the morning, to get out of his grief and taking care of Marlene. And so in OG7, he tells everybody, I made a big deal about this being for the planet and against Shinra, but really, I'm doing this for Marlene. And it's a very minor version of this sort of revelation of Barrett's not doing this anymore, really, because he hates Shinra once he gets to a certain point. At that point in OG7, going into the crater, he's doing it to make the world a better place for Marlene. And that's that moment when they all go off and they find their reason for being there, and then they all come back for the final attack on the crater. That's them finding their reason for being there, and that's sort of the same sort of end of a transition of they're not all there because they hate anything. They're not all there, for negative reasons. And it's the same sort of thing we get here. And I think I've talked long enough about this, but it's such an important moment in everyone's transformation. And the fact that we've gone in this story from Aerith hating Hojo. I think by the end of this, she realizes that she has to and will let that go, because her mom dying there, that is because of him. He's not mentioned in that whole scene, but he is the reason it's there. He is the reason her mom died, and of everything that she experienced in the first 7 years of her life there. It all comes back to him. and she starts talking about letting that go and moving beyond it. And I think she finally has let that go. And I think this is a moment that she has to go through in her journey and transformation before she will ever be able to pray and access the power of holy, before she potentially has the ability to become ultimate Aerith, if that is where they're going with this. And for her especially, but for everybody, I absolutely love the way they dealt with all of this and where they go with it from here. And there's still more to go. We still have a lot to cover in part 3 that happens after this. So, all right, I'm gonna shut up now for a little bit at least.
You know, if you think about it, life and death are just two sides of the same coin. Our bodies may disappear when we die, but our spirits still live on. We return to the planet, rejoin the life
Carry
stream,
with you everything that you experienced, all of your memories and thoughts and
life.
everything.
In time, yeah.
I get it, I really do. Knowing that the people we love aren't really gone, it doesn't make it any easier to let them go. It still hurts. So we can't just think of it as a homecoming, because it's not that simple.
She obviously pointedly directed that at Cloud. And he is
We've
not
all
listening. Look at that
experienced
body
pain.
language.
We all have our regrets. What we've done, what's been done to us, that's set in stone.
It actually is a very
past is
Sephiroth
forever.
sort of stance, that arms crossed,
But the future,
lean.
even if it has been written, can be changed.
That line obviously, I think is... Sorry, I'm going to do that before the music swells. That the future, even if it has been written, can be changed, I think is the heart of all of Remake and Rebirth and where it all came from. I firmly believe that the entire story we're seeing is the result of Ultimate Aerith trying to change something on the original story, and that's where we got Remake from, was her trying to fix things and trying to see if she could make things better and get a better outcome. And I think it only got her so far. And so I think now we're seeing it's the thought and the intent and the possibilities have evolved based on what's going on with Sephiroth and the Whispers and everything.
That the pain and the anger we carry can make us stronger. But at what cost? What toll does it take?
Very dark side of the 4C there.
I believe true strength doesn't come from any of that.
Quicker, easier,
True
more
strength
seductive.
comes from our ability to forgive, to forge ahead in the hope of making things right. It comes from ourselves. So focus on the future, not the past. Do that, and not even Sephiroth will be able to stand in our way. Not even him.
And
Are you finished?
man, listen to that music, just da-da-da.
Yeah, I know.
You tried, Aerith. So now Cloud's trial is different. I don't know that Cloud's trial comes from the same place as theirs. And I think Cloud might have failed his trial. And not just because he murderizes the Black Robe here. Why do you look like that? Why every other one look like that? Now, watch the way Cloud experiences this. We're back to
What's wrong?
the Mako reactor.
I'm fine.
Oh, what fun you had. Tell me though, was it worth it?
Now, in the original reactor, obviously it blew up and had lots of damage and all this stuff going on. There weren't people in it, though. So this is a combination of, presumably, the people who died and were out in the streets. But, I mean, nobody was in the reactor when it blew up. So this is indicative, I believe, of the people who died out in the streets. Cloud should know, because of the conversation with President Shinra and Heidegger after the Sector 5 reactor. Cloud should know that they were not responsible. Yes, he set the bomb, but the bomb didn't do a damn thing. And so there should not be guilt or negative feeling here. There should not be a strong emotional tie at this point anymore. Obviously,
Cut short. And your hand.
Sephiroth is screwing with him, and maybe Cloud, you know, when you realize that before they realized that they weren't the ones responsible, there would have been that emotional tie of the, oh god, look at all the devastation we caused, this was us, oh man, that they all went through initially. And that does leave an emotional scar. That you wouldn't just go, oh, whew, it wasn't us, okay, fine, and everything's better. You would still have the scar there. And it would get better with time, but that was only a month and a half ago.
Is what you're feeling even real? It's time you stopped pretending, Cloud.
I notice he's almost daring him to feel negative emotions. Feel sad, feel guilt, feel all these bad things. It's almost a, prove to me that you are who you say you are. Prove to me that you can feel these negative, bad things. There is no prove to me that, you know, you love Aerith or Tifa or any positive emotion at all. The only way Sephiroth is challenging him to feel is feel bad about it. And which again is, you know, and Cloud takes the bait, and it has been wondering, is like, why don't I feel bad about that? I should feel bad. I want to feel bad about these things. That's the emotions that I should be feeling. And it just drives more of the negativity through him. Now, see, obviously these people more or less died here as expected, and now we get to Jesse.
Your friend died in your arms, and you didn't shed a tear.
The person you literally knew for a week. But you definitely should have absolutely shed tears for her. Prove to me that you feel bad.
Sorrow, anger, regret, guilt, nothing but empty words to you. For you are but a puppet, my puppet.
I'll kill you.
Yeah, that'll prove. Thanks, Cloud. Now remember, since the very first thing practically that Sephiroth said to Cloud in Remake, in all the versions we're getting here, one of the first things he said to him was quoting his dead mother's final words back to Cloud. Every interaction with Sephiroth and Cloud has been, you're not strong enough, you need to get stronger, you'll never protect people, you'll never fight, you'll never beat me, you'll never be good enough, you need to be stronger. Hang on to that hate. Hate makes you stronger. Like, everything is a very Emperor Palpatine sort of Star Wars moments here of this telling Cloud, this is the pathway to getting stronger so that you can do the things and save the people, is through the negative emotions, is through all of these things, is through me. Sometimes literally trying to go through me with your sword, but that's just driving the negative emotions. And it is all about Cloud. I've said it several times in these videos, and we'll get to it when we get to the very end of the game, when we're coming up fast. Cloud is the linchpin. And Sephiroth constantly hammering on him. It's not just because Cloud is, the version of himself with the Genova cells, etc. That makes him the ideal person for this, and that sets it up. But it's more than just that.
Good, Cloud. Very good. Fill your hollow heart with rage.
Mm-hmm.
Give in to your anger.
Let it engulf you.
With each passing moment, you become more my
That
servant.
you may burn your world to the ground.
Lovely
as I
parallel
did.
vision there. And Cloud just murderized someone, and they all just watched.
I'm not like him. I'll never be like him.
I'm not left-handed.
We know. It's okay.
It's not okay. Any normal response would be, no, it's not freaking okay. But again, they're having the conversations. They've clearly talked about this, and they have a set way, based on what Aerith has told them, of how they are choosing to react to Cloud and not react to Cloud. So, Cloud, that whole thing, that seemed to, given the fact that there's a black robe there, come from Sephiroth, not from the same source as everybody else's trial. And so Cloud's trial was not about the same thing. Cloud's trial was about getting him to move further into the dark feelings and the hatred and the pain and the loss. Because we've already seen Cloud's worst memory. That was the first thing we saw in this game. The Nibelheim flashback. That is way, way, way worse than losing Biggs and Jesse. But we don't need to see that again. And so that wouldn't do anything for Cloud. We've already lived through that, and we already know he doesn't remember it right. And so his trial had to be something other than that. And so I think that's why Sephiroth chose these memories to show to him, because he wasn't feeling bad. He was horrified and felt bad and had all the proper emotions to Nibelheim. But to Biggs and Jesse, he had relatively little emotion. And so Sephiroth can turn that to his advantage, like I said, with the, well, you don't have feelings because you can't feel, you're not feeling these dark emotions. So if you want to prove that you can feel things and you're a real boy, you have to feel these dark negative emotions, which only serves Sephiroth. And Cloud passed his trial by going deeper into those feelings, which, compared to everybody else, Cloud failed the trial. Alright, now we're going to dive down through all this stuff, and we'll get to all of the lovely, lovely Cetron lore by the time we get down to here, and then take on the Demon Wall. So this is going to be it for me for the night, so there's going to be a break here, and I will pick up where the next story bit is, which I think is when we get down to seeing all the Cetra-induced visions and such. So, I'll see you in a bit.